Happy Friday. This is airing on a Friday. Yeah, it's DV Live. Yeah, happy Friday, everybody. I am Amanda Acom, the marketing coordinator here at Desert Valleys Federal Credit Union. Before we jump in today, make sure you hit that subscribe button, share this video, because we have some important information that kind of affects everybody, every adult. If you consider yourself an adult, I mean...
Well, kids too, unfortunately.
Yeah, kids, everyone, the whole slew of things.
Yeah,
so
stuff.
Make sure you subscribe, share this video, and welcome back, Mr. Cory Oliver.
Thank you.
Attorney
Appreciate
Oliver. How do I address you?
Cory, I guess.
What's up, Cory?
I can do that. hey, thanks for having me back. I appreciate that. For everybody else, I'm Cory Oliver. I'm an estate planning attorney at Oliver Law here in town.
Yeah. So I guess we're going to dive into it first and foremost. What's a fun fact about yourself?
Ooh.
I know. The hardest question I ask.
I don't have any more fun facts than what we did last time, which is just I know far too much about paper.
I still love that fact.
And I know a little Korean. I lived in Korea for a while.
Really?
Yep.
Did not know that. Okay, so.
That's why it's a fun fact. Yeah.
Yes. Are they really polite over there? Like, someone told me that they mind so much that there's like pool noodle type looking things on cars so you don't ding someone else's car.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. There's rubber things. Like they have that all. So I'm not going to go too far into that, but yes.
We're going in the weeds. We're in the weeds.
Yeah. There are like cars over there. They have like fun little things that are like, right, that bend point when you open a car where you know it's going to hit something else. Yeah, they're all over. But a lot of it also is because parking spaces are very narrow there. Everyone backs into the spot. There's no forward parking. Everyone backs in. They're all actually really, really good parkers and drivers in general. But everyone backs into space. Spots are very, very narrow. Something that's really kind of interesting, without going too far down this tangent, everyone has their phone number on their car. Because parking is so limited, because it's such a small country and small area, that you'll double park or park this or that. So if you can't get into your car, numbers on the car, call it. They'll come move the car so you don't have to get it towed.
Stop
it's so
that.
nice. Oh, yeah, all the time.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So like on the VIN where it is on your windshield, someone just put a strip and they put their phone number there. So because, like I said, parking's so hard to find. So when you come downstairs, someone's parked, they're like, that's okay. I'll just call them. They move the car. You go on. They get a spot. Everyone wins. No one gets towed.
My mind is already in a tangent of like, I could only imagine someone like me calling somebody and just hearing the rant I'm getting that I'm interrupting their day here in our society.
Oh, yeah.
In our society.
Interrupting my day because I double parked in front of you.
Yes.
So no, I have to be, yeah.
So
it's just weird. It's a super different culture and there's so many things that it just makes so much sense. And that's one of them.
They truly are. Like, I'll admit, I watch some reels sometimes when I have like 20 seconds to myself. And it is true. They're living like so far in the future.
Oh yeah. Seoul, or my wife will kill me if I say so. Seoul is like amazing. There's Wi-Fi walking down the street. Everything is just fantastic. It's a lot of fun.
I now know what just moved up higher on my bucket list of travel.
Put it up there. Not in this. It's bitter cold in the summer and super muggy, humid in the winter. But there's a couple weeks in the year where it's perfect.
Perfect. So I'm totally going in the summer. My husband's going to kill me.
Perfect.
So you are here today to discuss trusts.
Well, I think we can.
Ish.
What I was going to dive in a little bit today is maybe some horror stories that I have with probates.
Oh,
which is
okay.
Basically what a trust is designed to prevent.
Okay.
And for those of you that don't know, probate is that court process that oversees the distribution of assets when somebody dies. Layman's terms, who gets your stuff when you're gone?
Like your house, your car.
Exactly.
Your funds.
Even if you have a will, it has to go through probate. But if you have a trust, that's separate, doesn't go through probate, everything gets divided, private, all that jazz. But what I want to do today is tell about all the reasons, all the horror stories, well, not all of them, but a couple highlighted horror stories that I've had that a lot of people will fit into of what happens when it goes wrong.
Okay, first thing I am going to ask, because this is something we commonly see. If I have a will, do I have to have a trust? Or if I have a trust, do I have to have a will?
If you have a trust, there is something that's involved in a trust. It's called a pour-over will. It's a backup. I don't know if you want to get too far into the weeds, but it's there as kind of like a backup, like a safety net to catch everything else poured into the trust.
Okay.
So if you have a trust, that's already there. If you have a will and you already have a trust, then vice versa, you already have the trust.
Got it.
Cart before the horse. Not everybody needs a trust. Shock. Some people are fine with a will. If you don't own a home, if you have assets that are of lesser value, they don't trigger certain levels of probate and stuff like that, a will is probably okay.
But please don't write your will on a napkin
Don't.
in a bar at 12 o'clock in the morning.
Or in, Sizzler. Just don't. It's not great.
I would do some crazy things for that cheddar toast, though.
Fair enough.
Not a Klondike bar, though.
Oh, okay.
I know. I know.
So, yeah, I guess one of my stories, and I went through last night and I was looking at these and I was like, I got some fun labels for these. So the first one is just straight up no will. What happens if you die and you don't have a will? Mm-hmm. No will, no trust. The backup plan for California is called intestate succession. And basically what that means is that the court takes all of your assets and divides it to your closest family. So closest familial, so like goes to your kids if you don't have kids, to grandkids if you don't have those, parents, and then sisters, brothers, all that fun stuff. So there is a backup plan that's designed by the state that's trying to keep the assets and the property in the family.
So that would be blood relative, not spouse?
Correct. Very, very important distinction. Correct. Goes to blood. So, and there's intricacies. I'm doing 30,000 foot overview here. Right. But for the most part, the backup plan is it goes down your kids. So if a parent passes and let's just say it's a single parent passes, they've got 2 kids, but no will, no trust. Mm-hmm. The default law is it just goes down to the kids.
Okay.
Sounds great, but it has to go through probate to do that. Probate is long. It's about 1 year to 2 years in court, and it can be very, very expensive. And when I say that, I don't mean like a couple $100. I mean like $10,000 to $20,000.
Ugh.
It's expensive. So, horror story number 1. Somebody has a relationship early on in life, ends up having a child with that person. Those two separate. Child lives with the other parent that moves to the other side of the country and is estranged. The client that we're talking about has no relationship, never seen the child, hasn't seen that other partner since then. Client dies, doesn't have beneficiary forms, doesn't have any other kids, didn't get married again, has no relationship with this estranged child. Guess who wins the lottery?
That estranged child.
By California law, that kid gets everything. Never knew the father, mother, whoever it was, never knew the client. That child gets everything. That's the default law.
Even if the child is underage?
If it's underage and it goes into their estate, which is just,
okay.
It's managed by somebody that the court appoints until they reach, 18. But yeah, even if, the person is dating someone long-term, common law marriage, which isn't a thing in California, that's not a thing, but they're dating someone for a long time, or they have a relationship, or they've got close families and friends and whatever, or other things they would love to leave it to, nieces and nephews. Mm-hmm. Sorry. If you didn't fill out a beneficiary form, if you didn't have a will, you didn't have a trust, the backup is family. Backup is your kids. Doesn't matter if you're estranged, it just goes down biological, it's your kids. Well, biological or adopted.
Okay.
But, so that estranged child gets everything.
Wow.
So make a plan.
And then I was going to say that child is then lumped with the fees and funds?
Yeah, but at that point, they're getting a lot more usually.
Okay.
Than that, because they're probably getting a house. So yeah, that happens all the time. All the time, someone just won't fill it out. They don't do it. They just assume it's going to go to whoever they want.
Or it hasn't been updated. Well, yeah, like you said, doesn't fill it out, nothing.
Yeah, or they're going to do a trust and they never did it, or they brought the beneficiary forms home from the bank and they filled them out. A B word from the credit union, from the financial institution.
He said the B word.
Sorry.
Rude.
From the financial
we discussed this last time.
I know. They fill them out and they never turn them in. Never sign them, never turn them in, never nothing. It's just paper. Doesn't do anything. So that's what happens.
I think the craziest part of this is like typically anyone, even our age, but especially younger, I think, oh, I don't need it right now. It's never going to happen for me.
Yep.
Yeah. No, go ahead and do that.
Please nominate beneficiaries too. Or not beneficiaries, sorry, guardians while you're at it. Now, they're not magic wands that just get waved to like the police and child protective services and stuff like this and automatically grant someone authority to own a human, to take a child. But it is putting your wishes on record so that they just have to go to court and do a very quick proceeding to be nominated by the judge and say, okay, yes, they signed something saying a nomination of guardian. They did nominate you to be the guardian. It's all legit.
Hopefully they're aware of it.
Yeah. But
I think the only magic wand is like right after that child's born and then the hospital just lets you walk out the door on your own. I'm like, I remember standing there with my firstborn, my son. And I'm like, do we just walk out and go? And they're like,
we just own him now, right?
They're
It's
like,
good?
yeah, is something wrong? And I was like,
I feel like I should fill something out.
yeah, I feel like,
Do I need to sign out saying I took a child? Do I
do
need
you,
to
do you need to
something?
walk outside? Do you need to see that I have a car seat?
I know, right? Do you need
What's
to see
the
that I'm
return
responsible?
policy on this? Like, what is
Nope.
this?
There's a get out of here. We've got other ones.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that's my first one. The second one is the no plan. So this happens a lot when people are married and they have kids and they just assume that it's all going to be rosy and fine. So, hypothetically speaking, of course, let's say a couple gets married.
Okay.
Before they're married, the wife already owned a home. She inherited it from her parents when they passed.
Okay.
So she has a home. They get married. They live 30 years together. They never change the deed, never put the husband on the deed because it's the wife's home. They never get a trust. They have kids.
Okay.
Now wife dies. Where's the home go?
My first default answer is probate.
Yeah, well, all of these, all of these are going to probate.
I mean,
But so what will happen is,
Kids?
especially
Blood?
if it was the mother's separate property prior to marriage or just separate property in general, it has to go to probate. And there's an arithmetic that goes into it determining the certain percentages to
Okay,
each.
we don't do math here.
I'm not going any further than that.
Math.
Arithmetic, stretch my math, just saying the word. A certain percentage will go to the mother. Mother's gone, sorry. A certain percentage will go to the spouse, and then other percentages will go down to the kids. So you'll end up in situations where adult children
really?
and their elderly father now owns, the children now own 2/3 of the home, and the father owns 1/3. And if they don't get along, things get interesting for where dad's going to live.
yeah, I was going to say, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's a weird situation of
It's
how.
not ideal at all. That's
No.
why it's called no plan. Don't just assume that things will just work out. Because they might in your favor, kind of.
Because all family dynamics are weird.
Yeah, but probate is always going to be there. And, you know, it's not always terrible because it makes sure that the right things are supposed to go to who at least presumably are the right people, family.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it takes time. It takes 1 year to 2 years, and it's very expensive. There's a percentage that the courts use to determine how much the fees are going to be and everything like that. So it depends on how much, the more assets you have, the more homes you have, the more expensive, the longer it's going to take. But
Wow.
don't just assume that, because we're married, if something happens to me, he'll get everything, she'll get everything. Doesn't work like that. You have to actually plan it. Same thing with bank accounts or accounts at financial institutions, investment accounts, anything like that. If you own your 401k, your IRA, it's in your name, you must list a beneficiary.
Mm-hmm.
It will not automatically just go to somebody. And if you list my beneficiary is my spouse, and I'm not going to list my kids because if he's gone or she's gone, of course it's going to go to them. No, it goes through probate first.
Okay.
So it might eventually get to them, but again, thousands and thousands of dollars later. And that's the last thing, that's the last gift you want to give your kids is after you're gone is to deal with that nightmare.
And that's not even to say that it will be decided evenly, properly.
Well, it's usually divided. The default is really just even. So if you've got 3 kids and it goes, and there's no other parent, just goes down the kids, it's going to divide it into thirds. That might not be what the person wanted.
Okay.
If they've got an estranged, child that hasn't spoken to them in years and did this and that, or for whatever reason, they don't want them having more, they want it going to somebody else, you lose all control because you didn't plan. And then the backup is just split evenly.
That sounds terrible.
Oh, this is number 2.
I'm like, wait a minute here.
So, yeah, the other one, so that's no will, no plan. The other one's no clue. And this is just people that they just don't know what's going on and they want to stay blissfully ignorant. And this is like people that assume, again, I touched on earlier, there's no such thing in common law marriage in California.
So typically that's if you've been, living together, something like that, 7 years?
It depends on
the assumption.
The states that actually have it will have certain periods that are required. So
Okay.
some states will have 5 years, 7 years, 10 years or whatever. And then magically now you're considered equivalent to married or whatever that state's law is. Don't know. I'm only a California attorney, so I only deal with stuff here. There's no common law marriage here. Doesn't matter how long you guys have been together. Legally speaking, there is married or single. Full stop.
Okay.
That's it. So if you're together and dating with somebody and their name is not on anything, you don't own anything jointly, and it's just, oh, well, we lived together for 30, 40 years and that was my partner forever and we were always together, blah, blah, we even have kids together.
You're seen as single with a roommate.
Girlfriend. Yep, exactly.
Single with a roommate.
Single with a roommate and a couple smaller roommates. You got
Cool.
kids, everything's going to the kids because you're not married.
Huh.
So you don't get a lot of the default protections that marriage offers, like being part of that intestate succession if it gets divided, or just having a lot of other things that go along with that. Now, that being said, I have plenty of clients that are not married, do not want to get married, and that's not in their best interest. And I am never going to force somebody to say, like, well, to do this trust the best way, you have to get married. No, we can plan around it. We can do things around it, but you have to actively plan that. You can't just hope that backup plans are going to work. And if I don't do anything, it'll work out and they'll get everything. Chances are they'll get nothing.
It also sounds like a lot of work on the client to be proactive with their life.
Yeah,
and
which isn't a bad thing because people should be proactive with their life. The worst part about it is that you're going to leave that significant other, that roomie of yours, they get nothing.
You're also going to leave the smaller roomies.
Well, no, they'll get
no
it
stress.
because that's your kids. It goes to them because that would be the kids, but nothing goes to the other person. So if we're going back to they've been together for 40 years, kids are up and grown and gone, and the homeowner dies, leaving the roommate, for lack of a better term, that roommate is now homeless because they don't own the house and they're not going to get it through probate. The kids get it.
And so that during that time frame of probate, it could just be sitting there and the roommate's SOL.
Yeah, and generally speaking, I mean, practically speaking, they're probably still going to live there, and they're their kid. That the kids are theirs too. Maybe. What if they're not? What if that was a second relationship, and those aren't that person's actual kids? This happens all the time. And the kids, if they don't have a great relationship, guess what? Now roommate is homeless because the kids want their property, and it's their right to have it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
It's fun, right? So go get a trust.
Brutal.
Moral of the story, get a trust. At least at the bare minimum, get a will. But please do not rely on, I'm sure things will work out, because they won't.
They won't.
No, they won't.
Or relying on it won't happen to me right now.
Yeah. You don't get to plan when you go.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't say that. The default is you don't really generally get to plan. So, again,
if you're getting in a car today, you should probably have a trust.
Or plane, or,
walking.
I mean, accidents happen in the bathroom, right? So if you go to the bathroom or shower. But if you're looking at this from like the perspective of like, oh, that's a lot for me to do and I don't want to deal with that and blah, 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 it's actually protecting your kids.
Isn't this where your help comes in?
That's what I do. That's,
Weird.
As the trust. I come in and do this. But don't think about it as like, oh, I need to do this for me and it's this I got to deal with. It's what you're protecting your kids, your loved ones, your spouses, because you're just going to leave them with a nightmare. You're dead and gone. You can do nothing to help them.
So I'm going to kind of throw this out there. Hypothetically, a trust seems like so much time, so much money, so much effort right now. Is it, in a sense, in the basic sense, is it easier to do the trust versus the time, the effort, the money of probate?
Absolutely. 100-fold.
Okay.
Yeah. If we've got, I've had trusts done in a week. I've had some people that want to take a year. It's up to them.
Okay.
If they want to take that much time to make sure that everything is exactly what they want and they've just got a fluid situation where the family dynamics are constantly changing and they can't get it pinned down, that happens.
Okay.
But it can be done a lot sooner than that. Like I said, probate is a minimum of a year.
So.
And it's usually closer to 2.
Okay.
Especially in Kern County.
Oh, good to know.
Courts are just backed up. They're doing their best.
Good to know.
Yep.
It is as with life.
Yeah.
Once a trust is done and completed, say we complete one in a week.
Mm-hmm.
I come back in 2 years and want to amend it, change it, possible?
Yep.
Okay.
As long as the original person that created the trust is still alive, you can change it. Again, this is for revocable trust, not an irrevocable. I'm not going into those weeds. It's just a standard issue everyday trust. Yes.
This is just easy, upper level.
Correct. This is 101 very much.
Yes, very basic. Okay. So we won't even get into power of attorneys today, I don't think.
No, for purposes of this, no. Just know that I guess I will do this. Power of attorneys end at death. So if you have the power of attorney over your parent and you think, oh, after they're gone, I have power of attorney, I can do blah, 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 you can't do anything. It ends when they're gone. Ends at death.
Interesting.
So it's not a replacement for a trust. It's not a replacement for a will. It doesn't give you access beyond to manage everything after they're gone. It ends when they do.
So then again, can't make any changes, can't go in and be like, okay, I'm wiping out this account because I have to pay for funeral expenses.
Nope.
Got it. Man.
Yeah, which is another, and now we're going down that tangent.
Here we go.
If a person that dies has a bank account and they don't list any other, there's nobody else that owns the account, it's just theirs.
No joint owner,
No joint owner, and they don't list immediate beneficiaries on it at all, your kids have no access to that to pay for funeral expenses, to pay for the mortgage while you're gone until probate's done. They have nothing. They have no access to that until probate grants it to them, which is usually about 4 to 6 months down the line.
Or any of the perks that it comes with. So something we have at Desert Valleys is premium checking, where there's accidental death and dismemberment insurance.
Okay.
So as soon as that person passes, once you have the certificate of death or proven that they have passed, it kicks in.
That's fantastic.
As far as I know.
If that's a thing, that's fantastic. Because
we know Amanda's not, doing anything with money or funds or math.
So go talk to your, credit union about that. But if that's an option, that's fantastic, because there are so many people that end up for that 4 to 6 month period, they're paying everything out of pocket.
Which is insane.
Well, most people have their own lives and their own mortgages and their own kids and mouths to feed. The last thing they need is to take on the debt and everything else of somebody else to make sure it doesn't get foreclosed on, repossessed, all that fun stuff.
So my grandfather passed in December.
Okay.
And we were kind of, I know, and it's death. It happens. We know it's a part of life in our household.
Okay.
But I was like, what are we going to do? Like, how's this going to happen? All this, XYZ. Come to find out, my grandmother had passed 30 years ago. At the same time of her death, he paid for all of his expenses.
Fantastic.
And we were prepared and covered. But had that not have happened and he just, waited it out, like a casket, burial,
it's expensive,
headstone, everything.
Yeah, that's one of those things that's like, unless you've dealt with it, you won't even know how much of a burden that is and how much of a pain that is. And I realize, sorry, this isn't going to be fun conversation, but another one of the best things you could do is go to a funeral home and cover all that stuff now.
Yes.
Get it all taken care of. Because here's a fun little fact. Pricing for funerals, caskets, all that stuff, it increases just like inflation, just like everything else in the world.
Yes.
So if you go in, this is going to sound so lame, but if you go in and lock in that price now, but if you go in and pay for all that now, it's done.
It's done for. So
done and paid for.
I will attest to that, because when we found out, he paid the price of what it would be to be buried in 1993.
It's like $20.
Like, it was less than $1,000.
Blockbuster
I will
gift
be
card.
honest.
Yeah, it was a lot less expensive. And I'm going to just, I guess, I don't know how we do these things, but I'm going to mention, if you're in town, go talk to Holland Lyons, talk to Justin.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much of a wealth of knowledge that man is and how many people he is helping in that situation, and especially to plan beforehand so that their kids don't have to deal with it, because it is miserable. Not only did you lose your parent, you lost your loved one, you lost all this, now you have to deal with all the burden and all that just unknown and sadness of funeral homes.
Yeah.
And how much this costs and how much that costs. And good Lord, it's expensive. And I understand it, but it's a lot. You don't even get to mourn the loss of your parent.
Because you're so stressed doing everything else.
It's terrible. So again, it's not like a gift that keeps on giving. It's not a fun thing, but that's such a great gift is such a weird word for it, but it really is.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing thing that you could do so that they don't have to deal with it.
And I mean, it's not a fun topic, but we're all adults here. What's fun about adulting?
Probate. None of this is fun.
Yeah, no, none of it's fun. But I think it sheds the light on it and the importance of it, of getting it done. So it reduces that confusion, conflict, issues down the line.
Yep, absolutely.
And dragging out 2 years worth of stress and mourn.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of stress, so my next one is the no idea. And this is people that just don't know how stuff works. And I'm going to lean more primarily into businesses. And the caveat I should have mentioned before all of this is We're doing this in Ridgecrest. We're doing this in town.
Mm-hmm.
All these examples for my clients I have out of town in various areas. I have clients all over the state, so none of this is in here. So if you think this sounds familiar to you, it's not.
It's not.
So let's say we've got business owners. 2 people jointly own a business.
Okay.
They're a partnership or they're LLC or whatever they are. They're a business owner. They own it. But in this instance, they're partners. They own it, and they don't have any buy-sell agreement. They don't have any backup plan. They have nothing in place for if one of the business owner dies, what happens to their share.
Okay.
So if there's nothing in place with the business paperwork, the default, again, is probate.
Because if they assume that the other business owner would just...
Well, there's always the assumption because if there's plenty of people that are like, oh, I saw it, I see Facebook all the time. You can do it yourself. Go on LegalZoom. You can do it. Sure. See you in probate because you're going to do it wrong. Sorry. This isn't your area. No one, I tell clients all this all the time. Like, well, can't I just do it myself? I was like, well, you could go online and you could YouTube a how-to for a root canal. I don't think you should do that. Doesn't mean you should do it yourself, but you can see a how-to. No, you shouldn't do it. And so in like a situation like this, we've got a business owner who passed. That deceased business owner's share is an asset just like anything else, has to go to probate. So it has to go to the family.
Oh.
So now you've got a business that's a business owner owns half, and then random family members that have no interest in it own the other half. Maybe they don't even want to deal with probate. It's like, I don't even live in that town anymore. I don't have a relationship with him. I'm his only son or daughter.
With it.
Now what happens? You got a business owner that owns half a business. The other half is owned by a dead person's estate who no one will take care of.
Mm-hmm.
You're just living in...
this crazy limbo?
Yeah, you're just in limbo. You're just in purgatory until, oh my God, terrible things happen. So don't do that.
You're hoping by the end of it, the business is still there.
Yeah, and oh my gosh. It's just, that gets into so many other just areas, but it's just one more reason. The more assets you have, the more responsibility, the more things that you have, it's just that much more planning you have to do.
So in that instance, would the business have a trust, or would it still just be that individual person and that trust would cover that individual business owner's share?
So without getting too far into the weeds and depending on the business entity, you could, in theory, assign your business interest to the trust.
Okay.
So you could, if there's, and again, this is very, very high level. There's all kinds of asterisks attached to this, but you can, in theory, assign your interest in a business to a trust, even if that business is co-owned with somebody else. If you own half, you could put your half into a trust.
Okay.
And then you could have language in your trust saying who's going to manage it and after stuff like that. If you've got a business that's co-owned, don't necessarily recommend that. You should do it within the business agreement itself, but I'm not going too much further into it other than that because this is not advice for anybody listening to this.
Yeah, I guess we should have disclaimed that at the beginning.
I am not your attorney. I don't care if we're making eye contact. I'm not your attorney. Sorry. Talk to a business attorney or come see me separately or something like that. But this is just on how bad things can go.
Yeah, this is just conversational, informational on how to help not have chaos after.
Yeah. So
pass.
then the last one I have, so we had no will, no plan, no clue, no idea. And this one's no hope.
Oh.
This is all you do-it-yourselfers out there.
DIY. This is like perfect for COVID times. Like, remember during COVID in 2020 when everyone was DIYing everything?
Yeah, I still see a bunch of them. I have tons of clients that come to me and say, look, I panicked during COVID. I just wanted to have something done. I got it done on LegalZoom. I know it's not done well. I need to get it redone by, I just need to have it redone correctly. But
you've had people tell you, I know it's not done well?
Sure. They have the wherewithal to realize that they're not attorneys. They just needed something. They went online. They did it to the best of their ability.
Okay.
Thank God they know they didn't do it well, so I'm able to fix it for them. And I've looked them over and said, yeah, this is really bad. I realize why you did it. I get it, but I'm glad that you realized that it needed to be updated. So it happens. That's fine. Just because you did it yourself and you did it wrong doesn't mean we can't fix it. I do it all the time.
Well, I mean, at least they panicked and made a will and hopefully didn't hoard toilet paper.
It was written on toilet paper.
A trust.
It was written on
Oh, so they did. They did.
Yeah.
They're the ones that...
Yeah, it was written on toilet paper with hand sanitizer.
How rude.
Bastards. Yeah. No,
I'm notarizing with hand sanitizer today.
So, these are the people, and I understand it because, hey, this stuff's expensive. It can be. and I get that. And I realize that to some extent, I'm part of that. I get it. It's a business, so this isn't all philanthropic.
I'm sure you have a house to put over your head and food to put on your table.
I do have bills. It's a business just like everybody else, and my job is to help as many people as I can. And I get that some people are in different situations where they can't afford certain things, or they want to just go online and do it themselves. And I get that. Just, don't.
Yeah.
Just don't. There are a lot of document prep services around that will do it for low-income people and people that just don't have the ability to do that and that have lesser assets. But if you're the kind of person that you have...
Legal document prep services.
They can't
Don't go to Pack Wrap.
No.
Please.
It's an actual thing. They're licensed, they're bonded, and everything for a legal document prep. They can't give legal advice. So you go to them and you say, this is exactly what I need, and they show you what to do.
Okay.
But you can't go and say, hey, what happens if this happens? Or I want to plan for this, or I want to make sure that this great grandkid is, they're like...
They can't give the advice.
No, they're not attorneys. They can't do it. It's actually illegal.
Okay.
Yeah. Can't practice without a license. It's like doing surgery if you're not a doctor. It's frowned upon. It's frowned upon.
It's frowned upon. There's YouTube videos, though.
Stop. But yeah, these, people, I understand that they want to do it, and I get it. But without fail... I've had people all the time say, well, I'll just do it myself. Like, cool. I'll see you in probate because it's going to fail. Or worst case scenario, it's going to not take care of the things that you think that it's going to. It's not going to plan for your kids and grandkids. It's not going to include the or you don't even know how to include assets. You don't know how to fund the trust. Just because you create a trust doesn't mean it it just magically owns everything and has control. You have to reassign assets into the trust. You have to retitle bank accounts. Retitle beneficiary forms, retitle homes, retitle vehicles if you want them. You have to redo all this stuff.
And it sounds like a needy toddler.
The trust?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Like you have
Needs
to fund
lots of attention,
it.
Constant attention. You need to pet it and tell
Snacks.
it's pretty and
Snacks, lots of snacks.
Check on it every 3 to 5 years, which I hope you're doing more than that with a toddler, but yeah.
Oops.
You gotta... This is why hospitals shouldn't let you leave with babies.
Probably not. I mean, it's okay. It's fine. They're fine.
It's fine. They're probably fine.
The dog's taking care of them, I think.
And, in 3 years you'll find out.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, the people will create their own trust and they don't realize that they have to fund it. They just assume, I listed my home. I listed all my bank accounts. I listed all my kids, everything. What do you mean it doesn't work? Like, that's not how it works. You got pretty close, but not all the way there. So it's just... Honestly, most of what you're paying an attorney for is to do all the things that you don't know that you don't know.
It kind of sounds like The Price is Right. Like you got so close, but you're just not there.
But you still failed.
$1. Always bid $1.
Yeah. Probate. Pretty close, but sorry, probate. And then tens of thousands of dollars in years in probate because you wanted to save a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s up front.
And it still didn't work.
Yeah, and it didn't work.
Man.
Yeah. See this stuff all the time. And it's not anything, I'm not trying to point fingers or blame anybody because everybody is really just trying to do the best they can with what they know.
Let's just say not everybody's an attorney.
Yes. They just don't know what they don't. So if you are not sure, make an appointment, schedule a consult with an attorney. Even if they charge you a couple $100, it's much better to get that advice and get that information and know for sure what is and won't happen than just, I Googled it. I saw a law in Maryland that said this happens. It probably happens here, right?
Oh, in California, all the way
all
in a
states
different
are
state.
Different. So, yeah. Clients who go out and Google stuff, I always warn them, like, you can try that, but
it might not.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, don't Google because you could have the common cold, but all of a sudden you're dying.
Yeah, you're always dying. Everyone.
Always dying.
Always dying.
It's the
no matter
worst.
what. You stub your toe, it's death. Sorry.
So sorry.
Yeah.
So that's funny that we talk about different states. So what if I complete my trust, do everything, live in California, decide to move to Texas? Do I have to update?
So at the bare minimum, when you move from California, you're presumably going to sell your house when you leave. So you just sell the house out of the trust. No big deal. When you move to Texas, if you go buy a home there or any other state, you just retitle that home into the trust. So when you're going through all the paperwork and you're buying that home, instead of saying Amanda and Darren, it would say the Amanda Darren Trust.
Okay. Got it. So I wouldn't have to just completely like null and void my California stuff, go start over.
No, I mean, no. You don't necessarily
Ish.
have to.
I know we can get in the weeds with everything I'm
Without
asking.
going too far into the weeds, no, your trust is fine. It's going to be fine in all 50 states. It's just going to operate under California law,
Okay.
which is what we've already went through in the consultation and made sure that it's designed and does exactly what you want. It will do that in any state. You just have to make sure that it's funded. So if you do go somewhere, you open new bank accounts, new homes, stuff like that, you just have to make sure that it's getting into the trust somehow. Either that it's reassigned into the trust or the beneficiary form funnels into the trust.
Into the trust. Okay. Man, this is
I know it's a lot.
A lot.
It's overwhelming. I get it, and that's part of that's part of the issue why people never come. And if you're out there and you're thinking like, oh, it's been so long, or I don't know, blah blah blah, I would say that the vast majority of my clients usually wait, and they tell me this is why I know 5 to 7 years before talking about it and actually making the appointment and coming in and talking and getting started.
5 to 7 years.
Yeah. Oh, without fail. It's like, oh yeah, we talked about this 5 years ago and my so-and-so died or this and that, or I've been meaning to do it since he was, oh wow. Oh yeah, it's been that long. Like it happens. So you're not alone. Don't feel bad. Come on in.
That is wild.
Yeah. It's not something that people do proactively. Most people don't know about trust. They don't know about power of attorney. They don't know about funeral homes, buying stuff, prepaying. They just don't know about it unless they experience it.
I'll be honest, I didn't know prior to December of last year.
No, why would you?
And they were like, oh, it's already paid for. Everything's done. And I kid you not, they pull out this piece of paper. It's yellowed.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like it's on a typewriter.
This is a scroll.
I know, right? It's all nice. It's like, here's the national treasure.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that? And I was like, why does it look so ancient? And they're like, oh, it's already been paid for. This is the receipt. And I was like, that's a receipt?
And how awesome is that, though? I mean,
But yeah.
aside from having to deal with all the mourning and loss and everything, it's like, cool. I don't have to deal with this headache.
Yeah.
I don't have to pay for this out of pocket. I don't have to worry about beneficiaries, blah, blah, blah. Just
It's
cool.
done.
Now we get to go, move on, have a ceremony, and mourn the loss.
It was done.
Awesome. But yeah, most of the clients, they're not proactive. And it's not their fault. I don't blame them at all. They just don't know that they should or could be. It's always reactive. It's always somebody died and we went through probate. Somebody died and they had a trust and I don't want to go through probate. Or just so-and-so, something happened. It's reactionary to something that happened. Somebody died. Somebody dealt with the negative effects of probate and stuff like that. So they come to me afterwards. And I don't fault them. How else would you know?
You don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one thing. Last time we talked when you were here, I have a will. Most people know I went through cancer. Freaked out.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do I do? And since then, didn't own a home at the time. So we discussed it. We were like, well, we can wait until we do. We now own a home. We're a few months. We're coming up on a year.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's great. It's a great year.
Terrifying process. We literally were supposed to close on Christmas. It was a whole thing. Holidays. Actually, yeah, buy your home during the holidays. It's kind of nice. We got very great treatment from our realtor. No one's really trying to buy a home at that time.
That's true. Plus, if you're getting like housewarming gifts, and during Christmas and there are holidays, it's overlapping because you're going to need stuff for the house. So
the only thing I hated was I didn't get to decorate for Christmas at either of the houses because it was all packed away.
Oh yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, I also have currently 8 totes of Christmas.
You can still do it now.
Oh yeah, 100%. I already started decorating for Halloween.
Perfect.
Darren came home and he was like, "Really, Amanda?" And I'm all,
sorry.
"We're lucky I don't have the Christmas tree up."
Yeah, yeah, be thankful.
Be thankful we don't
That's
have the
next
Christmas
week.
tree.
Yep.
With Halloween decorations, maybe a turkey tree topper. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But no, so we did that, and now things have changed. Along with buying a home in the same year, we had a kid and all this other stuff, and it was just adulting 101 in 364 days.
Yeah.
65 days.
Yeah.
But whatever. 66 days. I don't know. Whatever. However a year. But now it's come about again. And we were discussing, I was like, oh, Cory's going to come back. He's going to come hang out. And he's like, oh, we should probably do that. And I'm like, ooh. Yeah. And yeah, now
Yeah, that's right.
Now I got to wait 5 to 7 years.
We talked a while ago about it. So you could say like, oh, well, I thought about it then. So you don't call it
so I can tack that in.
6.5 years.
We'll just tack that in too. Wait for some stuff. Isn't it like 7 years stuff falls off credit reports or something? Like that's such a long time to discuss. But like you said, life happens, things keep going. And now it's different for us. Because I'll be honest, like at the very basics when we talked last time, we didn't own a home. So I was like, I don't really feel we have our assets. We have other assets. We have other things. We had just our son at the time. But now it's completely changed because the insight that as well as talking to you.
Yeah. And I do try to recommend people that are newly buying homes and stuff like that. Like, one of the things you should go out, aside from insurance and all that jazz, is you should go out and get a trust and make sure that it's in the trust. But I do understand practically, like, we just spent a ton of money on the home. Pump the brakes. We'll talk to you in 5 to 7 years when we recoup from this. I get that. It's a lot of money you pay for buying a home. I get that. It's just put that, be in your bonnet. Just put a pin in it so that you think later on, like, okay, got our taxes back, or something happened, or whatever. We need to get this done.
I was actually very surprised, like this year, even with what was it, Tropical Storm Hillary? Everyone still says hurricane, but all that. Our house did fantastic.
Nice.
So now we're like, I guess we have no reason to not continue adulting and doing these things. So, but no, it's a great asset and I think tool for people to have. Like seeing other families go through probate, being able to chit chat and discuss with you. Like, I think everyone should at least come have a consult.
Yeah, or at least, just come to a seminar, whatever they're called, a presentation. I love doing these Q&As. We did one earlier today. We've done one before. I've done one at the Chamber of Commerce here. Okay. I love them. Just coming in instead of like death by PowerPoint and just say, here's what it is, and click the slide and show you my family vacation. It's like, I'd rather just come in and have that open dialogue to answer questions, because I know people are going to come in with them, and everyone's got the same question. They're just afraid to ask. So that's awesome. I'd rather just do that and just answer everyone's questions. People that come in, we can get another one of those going soon. But I'm gonna throw us under the bus here. I will discuss with you a time and date to come in and have members for Desert Valleys, or just community members be able to come in. Now I got to do it.
Yeah, scary. It's out there. It's on the internet. It's there forever.
But I want to say, just to plug this show again, is I actually had a lot of people reach out to me that watched the last video, and I just assumed that this would go off into like the internet graveyard and no one's going to watch me. It was probably for you. I just happened to be there. But I've had people from like my other locations say like, oh, hey, I looked you up and I saw this video and it was so informative, and just thank you so much for doing that. Awesome. That's so cool. Like, people are actually getting value out of this. So that's great. It's
kind of fun because we always say it meets people where they're at. Let's be honest, we're all on our phones scrolling through something. It'll pop up and it's so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. It was weird seeing. I came up my feed and I was like, what are you doing here?
The hardest thing for me is still when I'm on like Spotify.
Oh, yeah?
And it'll pop up something for you or whatever, like, listen to this week. And I'm like, I don't want to listen to my own voice, people. I don't need to listen to me driving to work.
Block me. I don't want to listen to that.
Yeah. So I've actually had one of my friends in Florida just randomly text me. And she's like, I don't even know if this is still your number or not, but I just saw you on YouTube and got information from this, and now I'm a member of a credit union here locally, and blah, blah. It just tangent.
That's so cool.
It was a whole thing, and I was all...
Look at you helping people without even knowing it.
Yeah, it's scary.
That's awesome.
It's scary.
I know. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One day I'll be Spider-Man, and I'll let you guys all know. Spider-Girl.
Looking forward to it.
Gwen.
Spider whoever.
Ghost Spider or something. Well, thank you again for being here and sharing, honestly, real-life stories.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation.
Or scenarios.
And it's difficult, but it's nice to paint a picture, because so much of this is in the abstract, and it's so hard to communicate to someone and just show to them like, oh, well, you need it because of A, B, and C. It's like, okay, let me show you behind the scenes without obviously giving away client information, but just like, here's what's happening. Here's what can happen to people. And believe it or not, you probably sit in some of these scenarios. Some of you out there, you probably think, oh, it would never happen to me. Damn it, that is me. So it's like, this stuff happens, and it's not your fault. No one's intentionally doing this, but there are things you can do, not only to protect yourself, but to protect your loved ones. This is really a gift for them. It's not for you. It's for them.
I was going to say, it's really not for you.
It's not. You're going to be gone. You're going to be dead. Don't leave them with a headache and burden and bills.
There's going to be enough of that in their own life.
True. Yeah, exactly. Don't add to it.
Well, I'll be sure to put all your contact information down in show notes, and hopefully people reach out to you.
Yeah, thanks again. This is great. Hope we do it again.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
We will see. There it is. See, it's out there. It's on record. He's going to come back.
Yeah, I have to.
More now.
Contractually obligated.
There we go.
All right. Well, thank you.
Have a great weekend, everybody, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.